Gangsters. And if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. And also check out my Patreon. I got a lot of good content on there, a lot of content coming up. I'm going to be in New York soon. I'm going to be at the feast for a while. I don't know what date yet, but I'm going to be making some content at the feast, eating some sausage and pepper sandwiches. But that's the plan. So check out my podcast, check out my Patreon, and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. So it's Friday. Someone sent me a picture of John, and it's a hit list, murders that he was involved in, and I'm looking at the list to see people that I knew that were on the list. And to my surprise, I knew quite a few of them. I didn't realize, it's been so many years, I even forget who they were, until I look at the list. And going down the list, like Tommy Bilotti, Paul Castellano, I knew DB, I knew Eddie Garofalo, I knew Louis DeBona, I knew. I knew quite a few of them. I knew the first one was 1973, James McBratney. I didn't know him, but I do know his son. But I didn't realize I knew so many of them, But I got a couple of hit lists, and then I got another hit list from Jimmy Burke hit list. I really didn't know him. I knew Kit Klugman, the wig guy. He used to borrow Shylock money off my brother. He was a really good guy. He was a good guy. He was a gambler. He was just a victim. He was a good guy. He used to borrow Shylock money off my brother, and he always paid my brother back. My brother liked him. My brother got along good with him. They were good friends. And that's really all I knew on that list. Billy Batts, I didn't really know him. Stax, I knew. Stax, I almost had a beef with him one night in an after-hour club on 126th Street in South Ozone Parkway. They used to run around. I had a beef with him one night. We almost went to blows, but then someone got in the middle, and we sort of made up, and we sort of became friends after that. So I knew him. And the next one, the other list they sent me was Tommy DeSimone. I knew two guys on this list. I knew Spider from the neighborhood, and I knew Foxy and Stax, of course. So on that list, I knew three of them. On the hit list, Roy DeMeo, there's 100 names on it. I don't even want to look at it. There's 39 names on it, on his hit list. 39 names. That's crazy. And then someone sent me a picture of Benny Eggs Mangano. He was an enforcer and an underboss of the Genovese family. Then someone sent me a picture of Henry Hill and his wife. And then another picture I got of another friend of mine, Mark Ryder, who just passed away in prison. I knew him very well. I knew his son Greg that was killed by Tommy Karate. His son Craig, when he was in jail, Mark was in jail. His son had a vending company, and we had all our number spots in Jamaica. We had all, now there's a lot of machines in there, but back then there were number holes, and we made a deal with him, and we let him put out of respect for his father, because we had our own vendors that were with us, but we allowed him to put his machines in our number spots. Because he was a nice kid. We were friends with him, and we knew his father. So Carl and myself let Greg put his machines in our number spots. So that's my little spiel about all these lists, these murdered hit lists, and all this good stuff. But I want to talk about also a little light subject. Someone asked me at work yesterday, one of my coworkers, because now they all know who I am now at work. They all know about my videos and my podcasts and all that. So one of my coworkers asked me yesterday to tell her some of my stories, because we had some downtime and we were sitting outside in the courtyard, and she asked me to tell her some of my stories. So I started, we started talking and laughing, and tonight's Friday night. It was a big party night. I was always out on a Friday night. And I remember, many, many, many years ago, the night I met and partied with David Bowie. It's funny because sometimes I feel funny telling people these stories because I think maybe they think I'm bullshitting, but I'm really not. So I'm going to tell you the story about David Bowie. So, I used to hang out in the Ritz. The Ritz was a famous rock club in downtown Manhattan. It was Studio 54 uptown, the Ritz downtown. And the two owners of the Ritz were Stanley London and Gary Brenner. Stanley London was the money guy. He was a big, big vendor. He had a big vending company. He was with Matty the Horse. And Matty the Horse had big vending business. He ran Manhattan. He had all the clubs. So Stanley was with Matty the Horse, the captain of the General Stanley, and Greg was he was Gary. I mean, he was the music guy. He used to bring in all the talent, and this guy knew all the celebrities. This guy, and you could check this out on YouTube. This guy brought U2 here from Ireland in 1981, and their first American appearance was at the Ritz. And that night, my brother and I and a couple of guys went to the Ritz, and the street was packed with people waiting online, big lights out, packed with people. And, of course, we didn't wait online. So we go up to the rope and, they let us in, and we get up the steps, and my brother tells them, "What's going on here?" And one of the managers told my brother, there's this Irish group from Ireland here called U2, and everybody wants to see them. And I was at their first American show ever. And some of it's on YouTube. So this guy, Gary, he was hooked up in the music business. So anyway, I'm in the Ritz one night, and I'm there with my Uncle Junior and my brother-in-law Louie, who are much older than me. And the three of us are in there, and we're drinking. I was using then, and we're drinking, and he comes over to us. Gary comes over to us, and he tells me, "Listen, I have an appointment in a little while. I want you to come with me." So I go, "Where? Is there a problem? Why do you want me to come with you?" He goes, "Listen, I just want you to come with me. I have an appointment, and I really want you to come with me." I said, "Well, I'm with my uncle and my brother-in-law. I'm not going to just leave them here." He said, "No, they could come too." I said, "They could come too." I said, "All right." So about an hour later, he comes over to the table and goes, "Come on, let's go." So the three of us get up, we go down, we get in his car, and we drive to Greenwich Village. For the life of me, I can't think of this place's name, but it was in an old sawdust bar, and upstairs was a bowling alley, but it was like 6 lanes, old school bowling alley, like a real sawdust joint. It was very back then. It was very chic. It was like an artsy place to be. You know what I mean? And we go in, and it's a sawdust bar, and we walk up the steps. And we walk up where the bowling alley is, and we make a right, and in the corner table, there's David Bowie, Susan Sarandon, and Catherine Duval. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. The French actress who at that time was known as the most beautiful woman in the world, one of the most beautiful women in the world. And the three of them were in New York filming a movie called The Hunger that Bowie was a vampire on, and they were in the movie with him. The two actresses, and they were filming this movie, The Hunger. They might have just wrapped it up. I'm not sure if they were still filming it, but they were there because of that movie. And we walk in, and we walk over to the table, and he went there to meet Bowie, and he wanted to surprise me. He wanted to introduce me to Bowie. So here I am, me, a criminal, my Uncle Junior, and my brother-in-law Louie, Gary, and Susan and Catherine and Bowie, and we're sitting at this table drinking, and of course we started doing blow. I mean, that's what we did back then. And my Uncle Junior didn't even know who he was. My Uncle Junior, he leans over to me and he goes, "Hey, who's this English guy?" I go, "That's David Bowie. He's a big, big major rock star." And my Uncle Junior was a great dirty joke teller. Like, he was really, really funny. And, we start drinking, and we're talking, and we're listening to Bowie's talking, the girl, they're talking, and we're having a nice time, right? And my Uncle Junior starts telling dirty jokes. Bowie is hysterical laughing, falling out of his chair. the Susan Sarandon and Catherine Duval, hysterical laughing. I mean, we're rolling, and he's spitting them out. And he's crazy, my Uncle Junior. He actually believed that he had a shot to go home with Catherine Duval. He leans over to me because I think she likes me. I said, "You're effing crazy. What is she going to do with you? She's one of the most beautifulest women in the world." And we stood there a couple of hours, and the waitress was gorgeous. I wind up leaving with the waitress. That's what I used to do. I wind up but to end the story. So now I'm hanging out with them, right? He's a multimillionaire. The owner of the Ritz, he's loaded, right? And the check comes in. Who do you think gets stuck with the check? I get stuck with the check, right? Then nobody's picking up the check. I pick up the check. Back then, the check was like 200 and change. It cost me 300 and change with the tip to pay the check, right? So now we leave, and I already hooked up with the waitress because I already was waiting on the waitress. I took her to the Intercontinental Hotel, and I stood there till the next day. But I went outside. I go, "Hey, what did you?" I grabbed Gary. I said, "Hey, Gary, what did you bring me here to pay this check?" I said, "What are you joking?" I said, "I didn't need to come here to meet Bowie to get stuck paying a $300 check." Because I wasn't starstruck, it was nice I met him. I mean, I appreciated it. I was hanging out with David Bowie. Who wouldn't want to hang out with David Bowie? But I could have been happy staying in the Ritz, So he gave me back the money, and he drove my uncle and my brother-in-law back to the Ritz to get my car, and I went with the waitress to the Intercontinental Hotel uptown, and so that's how I was rolling back in the early 80s when I first got out of jail. And that's how I got caught up in that lifestyle. And that's how I got caught up in that cocaine bullshit. You know what I mean? Because it was fun and games then. It was fun and games in 1981. It wasn't fun and games in 1986. And that's what happens with addiction. I started out partying with David Bowie, and then I winded up being alone, locked in a hotel room, peeking out of the window. And thank God I found a treatment center, and thank God I got clean, and thank God I found a 12-step program that I still go to 36 years later. Otherwise, I would have been dead. You know what I mean? I started out on Park Avenue, and I ended up on the Bowery. You know what I mean? That's how addiction goes. I started out partying with David Bowie, and then I winded up locked in the Crosby Motor Inn, in some dirty room all by myself. And that's addiction. And thank God, I found the 12-step program and I got clean. And by the grace of God, I'm still clean. Let's see what I got here. I got a thing from Nick. "Anthony, your dad and Tony liked me a lot. They told me this isn't the life for you. They were looking out for me. I used to make them both piss their pants at Bulldogs." Yeah, Bulldogs was a great place. A lot of good memories from Bulldogs. That was right before they took over Cafe Liberty. That was the spot, Bulldogs and City Line. This is from Joey. "Anthony, what have you heard about the interaction with Joe Watts and Frank Sinatra over Standing Up John?" I don't know anything about that. I heard a story about unfortunately when John's son died in the funeral parlor, Sinatra sent a flower piece, and they put it, and because it was from Sinatra, they put it right up in the front of the room. And I heard John got mad that they did that and made them put the flower piece all the way in the back. That's probably the incident you're talking about, because he didn't just come personally. And, I guess John felt, like, if you're that close to me and you love me like that, you could have came instead of sending a flower piece. Like, who do you think you are that you couldn't come here? This from Barry. "Did your father and Neil have a falling out?" They had in the 60s, my father always believed that Neil held this against him. In the 60s, the underboss of Chicago came to New York for I guess maybe for a commission meeting, for a big meeting. The underboss from Chicago, and Neil who was the underboss of the Gambino family, they took him out with a couple of his guys. And my father was one of the guys that Neil took with him, and a couple of, and Frankie Martin was another guy. He was another made guy. Neil took a couple of guys out from back in the Anastasia days with him, and they were out, and they were drinking and everything. And my father, loved Neil. They had a father-son relationship, and and they used to break balls. They always broke balls when they were playing pinochle in the Ravenite. They used to break balls. So my father at the table started breaking balls. And this scumbag from Chicago, this underboss from Chicago, turns you around and tells Neil, that's how you make your guys talk to you? And Neil got embarrassed and he reprimanded my father at the table in front of everybody. And when they went outside, my father and Neil went nose to nose. My father said, "What the hell? What do you do? Why would you do that to me?" And they went like nose to nose. And Frankie Martin actually had to get in the middle of them. The next day, my father got up, got dressed, and left and went to the Ravenite because Neil at the time was still living across the street with his wife and his son Buddy, right across the street from the Ravenite. And my father went there like 8 o'clock in the morning and waited outside the building for Neil to come out of his house. And when Neil came out of his house, my father was standing there. And my father said, "Are we okay? Are we, is there a problem?" And Neil hugged him and kissed him and said, "There's never going to be a problem between us. I'll always be your captain." Even though he was the underboss, he said, "I'll always be your captain." And that was the end of it. My father, to the day he died, he always said that Neil held that against him. He always said Neil held that against him. This is from Tony. What do you remember about Tommy Sneakers from Howard Beach? Tommy was a quiet guy. I knew him a lot of years. He's a captain now. I have nothing really to say about him. He was very close to Jeannie. I mean, he was no tough guy. He was no thug. Big money earner, stand-up guy. Been around a long time, still around. From Tato, Catherine Duval, chip in. Yeah, Luciano, damn, $300 is like $5K today. Yep, that's for sure, without a doubt. Hold on, I got some more stuff coming in here. David, thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Greetings, Mr. Hugging. Do you know Cha-Cha from Mulberry Street, from Jimmy Alberto's? I heard the name, but I don't know it. I knew a lot of kids from Mulberry Street, Baby John and Mush and Moose and all them kids, and of course Buddy, Neil's son. I knew, and that's so many years ago. It's a very good possibility I might know him, and I forgot. I mean, I hung out on Mulberry Street a lot in the 70s and a lot in the 80s up until, really, I hung out on Mulberry Street up until John became the boss, and then I really didn't hang out there much after that. Pac-Man. Anthony, do you know Steve Sergio? Listen, I'm bad with names. I may know him, I may not know him. Tell me a little more something about him that might, click with a memory. This is from the bearded tune fan, Anthony from over the pond. Hope you're well. Thanks for tuning in. I'm doing pretty good. Johnny Heff, good evening from Chicago. What's up, Johnny? Let's see what else we got. That's it. I'm waiting for more stuff to come in. Waiting for more stuff to come in, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, the feast starts anyway. The feast starts on September 11th to the 25th. I'm looking forward. Matthew, the Cap Kid, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Louis Casman claims to have been close to Gene and Angie. Have you heard of him? I heard of him. he was good friends with them. I think, I don't want to talk bad about the guy, but I think he's making the relationship with all of them bigger than it really was. He was like a money guy. He claims to be John's adopted son. He never came out. Put it this way: a lot of guys that say they were close to John and all these guys, all I could tell you is I wasn't with them every day, but I have gone out with them to dinners, to clubs on many occasions, and I never saw him. He was never with us, and a lot of other guys that are out there claiming that they were with John and this and that and were never with us. Club A, regimes, the Brown Derby, Pastels, Altadana's, Alberto's on Metropolitan Avenue, all these restaurants, they were never with us. Never. I was there, Tony Lee was there, Pete was there, Ronnie One Arm was there, Ronnie the Jew was there, the Italian guy, the Italian Ronnie the Jew, Mikey Scars was there, Joe Watts was there. But these other guys that claim that they were this close, they were never there. I'm not saying they weren't close with them, they weren't friends with them, they were friends with them. But and did he know them? Yeah, of course he knew them. Of course he knew them. This is from Barry. Who was the two most dangerous guys back in the 70s? I said I knew a lot of dangerous guys. My old man was dangerous, but he was not a bully. He wasn't a psychopathic killer. Tommy DeSimone was dangerous. Jimmy Burke was dangerous. Roy DeMeo was dangerous. Anthony Stabile was dangerous. I could go on and on and on. There was a lot of dangerous guys. Was one more dangerous than the other? I don't know. Was one more vicious than the other? Definitely, without a doubt. This is from Bobby. I don't know anybody from Maine. I'm sorry. Maybe I was in jail with a couple of guys from Maine, but outside of that, I really don't know anybody. It's just from Daniel Holmes. Look like you lost some weight, looking healthy. Yeah, lost weight. I lost 32 pounds, and I have my friend Joey Molina to thank for that, because he did a couple of videos about 6 months ago, and he called me the fat guy, and I'm a very vain guy, you know what I mean? And the doctor anyway told me I needed to lose weight because I was a borderline diabetic. So I actually lost 32 pounds. I started out at 234, and as of today, this morning, I weighed myself when I was 202 pounds and 2 ounces. So I have lost a lot of weight. I want to get down to 195, and then I'm gonna stop. This is from Frank. Yo, Anthony, hello from Pompano Beach, making crab gravy, watching your pocket. Where's mine? I love crab gravy. That's one of my favorite gravies, lobster gravies, crab. I love seafood gravies. I love it. Those are my favorite. Where'd you get crabs? Blue claw crabs or the crabs from down here? Matter of fact, speaking of crabs, I may go tomorrow. I have a date. I may go to Joe's Stone Crab tomorrow and have some stone crabs down in Miami. I'm debating where to go for dinner, but that Joe's Stone Crab is on the top of my list. David, thanks again for a donation. I appreciate it. Autocorrect, Cha-Cha owned the Boca, Abel on the Sopranos. Cha-Cha, I'm pretty sure I knew him. I think I know who you're talking about, but I never hung out with him or nothing, but I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. They're coming in fast and furious now. Hold on. Bigfoot Turkey. Hey, I was wondering what the tanning routine for the average mob guy is. Seems like they all love a good time. Oh, that was my thing. Listen, in the 90s, that was what my goal was, to stay tan. Florida, tan. I was tan 12 months a year, 365 days a year. It's just a thing with mob guys. We like tans. I guess because we wear suits with a lot of white shirts, and it looks nice to have a tan. I always wanted to be tan back then. I still do, but I don't have the time anymore to go really to the beach. I work. I have a full-time job. This is from Joey Frakes. Any interactions with Johnny Koenig? Oh man, many, many, many. From when I was a little kid, he was a good guy. He looked out for me, treated me well. He was one of he was one of the fewest guys that when I saw him in the 80s, he would always give me money to put in my father's commissary. Always go in his pocket and hand me a couple $100 to put in my father's commissary all the time. He was really a good guy. And I did a little business with him with some credit cards. I made some money with him, but he was and he's dangerous. He was a dangerous guy. This is from Luciano. Was Frank Sinatra and Carlo Gambino related? No, not that I know, no. His daughter is married to a Dr. Sinatra that has no relation at all to Frank Sinatra, none whatsoever. Just coincidentally have the same last name. No relationship at all. That's his daughter was married to Dr. Sinatra, no relationship. Another, do you know Joseph Pilato Sr. and the Wall Street stock scam? No, not really, no. Sorry. I feel bad. These guys ask me if I know all these people. I've been out of the game a long, long time. And before that, I was in prison. I went to prison in 96. I came out in 04. 05, I got arrested. I was in the house arrest for a year. At the end of 05, I left New York. That was 20 years ago. So a lot of these names left my brain, and some of these people I never met. So I really apologize when people ask me if I know people and I don't know them or I don't remember knowing them. So please, I apologize. Barry Schmidt was Mark Capo. I don't understand what that means. I thank David already for his donation. Appreciate that. They help with the content. Let's see, what do we got here? This is from Canada, Dark Haunted History. Hello, Anthony. Welcome, Canada. Thank you very much. I really appreciate when people from out of the United States tune in. It warms my heart, really. Thank you. This is from Frank. God bless on the 32 pounds. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. I feel great. I feel with the weight off, what a difference it makes. It's really being overweight is really bad for your health, man, because I feel 100 times better. I look 100 times better. I mean, I'm fitting into clothes that I haven't worn in 10 years. It's crazy. Did Tommy Raver? Hold on, that's a good question. Shit, I lost it. Hold on. They're coming in too fast. They're knocking me out. It's from Barry. Did Tommy Raver kill Carlo's cousin? Yes. Yes, they killed Carlo's cousin. And actually, my father was the shooter. And to the day they both died, Neil was the only one at the end that knew my father was the shooter. And if Carl ever found out that my father was the shooter, he would have probably killed my father. And Neil never, ever revealed that to Carl Gambino because nobody knew except Neil and Tommy and my father. So that was a big thing with Neil, that he never, told Carl who the shooter was. But yeah, Tommy Raver killed him. But that was on the orders of Albert Anastasia, because Albert Anastasia did not like Carlo Gambino. This is another one from Pac-Man. His father was Michael Sergio. John Gotti supposedly gave Steve the nickname Sigmund the Sea Monster. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. Barry Schmidt, do you think Neil killed Carmine Galante? No, but I think they were all in on it. They all approved it. That's for sure. It couldn't have got done, when Anthony Bruno, after the shooting, he went to the Ravenite. That's a big surveillance picture from the feds. Did you ever hang out with DeSimone? All the time. I hung out with him all the time. He used to take me out. He used to come to my father's bar, Bulldogs, and he used to tell my father, "I'm going to take your son out." And my father used to tell him, "All right, just make sure you don't get my son in trouble." Here's one from Wolf777. Hello, Anthony. Awesome stuff. Did you hang out with John Gotti and Sammy leading up to the Castan? Not Sammy, but John Gotti, yes. Yes. You know, Peter Luger's, a lot of, I hung out with John, not every day, but I definitely hung out with him. This is from Frank. Have to use frozen crabs live. It's tough down here. Stone crabs don't start till October. Yeah, that's true. But Joe Stone Crab still has them all year round. They never used to, now they do. But yeah, I know it starts in October, but I'm sure Joe Stone Crab probably has them frozen, but they're still going to be good. Maybe not as good as when the season starts, but I'm sure Joe Stone Crab ain't going to give you a bum plate of stone crabs. This is from Canada, Dark Haunted History. Anthony, congrats on your recovery. I too am in recovery. I have almost 90s next month. I have been in recovery for over 20 years. I've had some great clean time in recovery. I hope this is my last time. Listen, man, one day at a time. If you were in recovery and you had over 20 years, you know how to do it. It's just a decision. It's just a decision. Any dealings with the Patricia family from Massachusetts and Connecticut? No dealings with them, but I did. There was a couple of guys from that area in Schuylkill that I hung out with. This is from Nadia Curtis. What's your favorite Mafia movie? Goodfellas. I know all of them. I identify with it from the first day I saw it in the movie theater. Like, it was like, holy shit. I identify with it. Definitely Goodfellas. This is from IH8U. Keep up the good work. Been following your content since your Vlad interview. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. This is from Chris. How do you feel about the Yankees right now? The Yankees suck. Listen to me. Yesterday, I'm a diehard Yankee fan since 1959. Yesterday was the second time in my entire life that I bet the Boston Red Sox. I think the Yankees, and I don't gamble anymore. I can't afford to gamble. But yes, I think the Yankees are so bad. When I saw yesterday that the Red Sox were underdogs, I bet on the app, which is legal now, the Hard Rock app, I bet $50 on the Red Sox. That's how bad the Yankees are. The last time I bet the Red Sox was 1975 when they played Cincinnati in the friggin' World Series. Today, I took everything in my power not to take all the money I won yesterday and bet on the Red Sox again. And I should have done, because the Red Sox blew them the fuck out 12-1. But I didn't bet them because I don't want, it kills me to bet against them. But tomorrow, if the Red Sox are underdog tomorrow, I'm going to bet the Red Sox again, because they are going to win 4 in a row, because Boone's a moron, and they got automatic outs. They got guys batting 200. They shouldn't even be in the major leagues. Don't get me started with the Yankees, please. They suck. Matthew, the Cap Kid, if you could go back in time and talk to your teenage self, what would you tell that young Anthony? I would tell him, stay in school. That life is all bullshit. Stay in school and get an education and go to work. That's what I would tell him. Bigfoot, who is your favorite YouTube mob creator? I am. I am. I'm not going to say somebody else. I think who I give the most respect to is Michael Francis, because he started this all. He's the number one good guy, always, helps me, comes on my podcast whenever I ask him to. I get major views with him. I would say him I respect the most. This is from Hellfire, from Australia. Tim, shout out. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you, I appreciate that. Lewis, do you know Lewis Casman? I mean, I ran into him a few times. I don't know him that well, but I know him. And Omar, what's a quirky sit down story you could tell? I got a lot of stories I could tell about sit downs. I don't have time right now to tell a whole story, but what you could do is I go, come on my Patreon and I'll make a video of it. You know what I mean? Because I got a lot of stories, quirky stories. I sat down with this guy Corky from Jersey. He was in the music business. Louis Metropolitan from the Bonanno family. Of course, Tom DeSailor from the Genovese family. I mean, I had 100 sit downs in my whole life. So yeah, I could definitely tell you some really good stories. This is from Frank again. Joe's has excellent lasagna, also on fried chicken. Thanks. Appreciate that. Did you know, this is from Jay Hearn, did you know Peter Pasta Pellegrino? I knew a lot of Pellegrinos. I knew a whole family named Pellegrino from my neighborhood. I don't know if that's Peter Pasta. This is from Barry. Did Danny Marino's uncle make Carlo the most money? Listen, Carlo Gambino did not like Danny Marino's uncle. Danny Marino's uncle was going to get clipped by my father's crew because the contract went to my father, and it got called off by Gambino at the last minute. But yeah, he was a big earner, big earner. Johnny Half Casino, that's the neighborhood crew, Grand Avenue, yep. This is from Bigfoot Turkey. Did you ever find yourself watching the news about the mob while sitting? Yeah, oh, many times. Okay, this is another one I got from Barry Schmidt. That's the same one. I read that one. This is from Frank. Go see the Marlins game. Nice stadium. Yeah, I was there many times. I love baseball. I was there many times. This is from Omar. No, your cousin and A-Light started it all. They were definitely in on it first. They were definitely in on it, but I think Michael might have been in on it at the same time as them, but they definitely had a hand in starting it all, without a doubt. My cousin and Johnny A-Light, no doubt about it. They started me, and they started me without a doubt. This is from Napolitano. Love your channel. I'm 8 months clean from 280 milligrams a day of oxys. Feels great. Thank you for your channel. Greetings from Steel City, Youngstown, Ohio. Thanks. I appreciate that very much. Don't forget, everybody, go to my website, anthonyruggiano.com, and purchase some pictures and photos. Listen, I'm not begging for money. All I'm telling you is when I sell merch or people donate, that money goes into me making content, buying equipment, keeping this going. You know what I mean? This ain't, this I don't do this, this isn't for free. It costs me money to do this stuff. Okay. Tell us about Mickey Boy Paradiso. Tough guy, gangster, good guy. My old man loved him. They did time together. A hoodlum, real hoodlum, tough guy. This is from Chris. I agree. Boone is a moron, without a doubt. I don't know how this guy ain't fired. They're lucky George Steinbrenner is dead. Charlie, why was it never a movie about Morris Levy? It's a good question. I don't know. I have no idea. This is from Lewis. This might be Casman sending me this? If it is, how you doing? It's amazing the power Lewis Casman had with John Sr. I heard he had carte blanche. All the captains had to listen. It's amazing. I never heard that. Might be true. I know Joe Watts had that kind of power. He might have had it too, but I didn't see it. But It's very possible. I know Joe Watts did. This is from Bigfoot Turkey. How did Italians deal with white prison inmates? Were they not considered white? You know, we dealt with inmates that were, stand-up guys. You know what I mean? Like you know, we knew who to deal with and who not to deal with in prison. This is from Barry Smith. Where did you do business in Jamaica, Queens? Oh my God, all over Sufton Boulevard, everywhere in Jamaica, everywhere. Our office was right off the Van Wyck, where we got busted. All over Jamaica, Queens, all over. I got a donation from Cole Sketcher. Thank you very much. If you had to pick 5 all-star crews throughout the whole Mafia in the 70s and 80s, who were they? Definitely my father's crew, without a doubt. Charlie Wagner's crew with John Gotti in it, without a doubt. Joe Pine's crew from downtown Manhattan, definitely without a doubt. That's 3. Paul Vario's crew, without a doubt, and Lucchese's, no doubt about it. Paul Vario's crew. And I'm naming crews that I know personally, guys I knew personally. And probably Sammy's crew and Jimmy Brown's crew in Brooklyn. Let's see, I jumped ahead here. Hold on. From Francisco. Hey, Anthony, do you know whatever happened to Chris' phone books? No, I'm sorry, I don't. This is from Matthew the Cap. Did you know Maury? Yeah, I knew Maury from Goodfellas. I knew him very well. I knew basically all of the people that were in Goodfellas. This is Luciano. Who's your Mount Rushmore of mob bosses? Mine is Luciano, Lucchese, and 4th one is hard. I'm going off those. Like I could only go by the ones I knew. Of course, John Gotti. Whatever people say about him, that's up to them. My father always told me that the toughest boss he ever met was Albert Anastasia, and the smartest one was Carlo Gambino. Hold on. Marina, thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. This from Bigfoot Turkey. I meant like, they wanted to affiliate with them, or did they respect mob credentials? Yes, they did, without a doubt. This is from Chris. How do you feel about the Yankees removing facial hair and tattoo? I think they should have never done it. That's what made them distinguished. That's what made them separate from everybody else. They should have never done that. Never, ever done that. 88 Napolitano, Anthony, Tony Roach had an H habit. Did John ever thought of getting rid of him? Not that I know, but, everybody knew he had a heroin habit. But, they all liked him. Everybody loved him. From Nagli, I can't pronounce his first name. Last name is Kurt Naglia. Curtis, I love your channel and I watch every live. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Hold on. Okay. I want to tell everybody before I go that if you'd like to book me for a private interview or talk to your group, if you have a group, send me an email at Anthony Ruggiano Jr. @gmail.com. I could definitely accommodate you. You know what I mean? Just reach out to me. I'll meet with anybody. I'll have dinner with you, or we could do something on Zoom, or I could come and talk to people, a party of people, or an event. whatever you need me to do, just contact me at AnthonyRuggianoJr.com, and we'll hook it up. Listen, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I love going live. I mean, the questions coming really fast, so if I didn't get to any, I'm sorry, but I'll be seeing you again soon. So have a good night. Thanks.